How good will the New England Patriots defense be this upcoming NFL season? If you haven't seen it already, we already covered how good the Patriots offense will be this year in a previous segment of the JT Sports Podcast. Make sure that you guys go ahead and check that out. There will be a card popping up above if you guys are interested in seeing that. The Patriots defense was really good last year. They were third in the league in points per game allowed, seventh in yards per game allowed. They also were really good getting off the field on third down. Their defense was really good at getting stops inside of the red zone, and their pass defense was one of the best in the league. However, the biggest weakness of the Patriots defense in 2021 was their inability to have success against the run. They were 24th in the league in rushing yards per game allowed, giving up 126.5. And there were a couple of occasions where Bill Belichick and his son, defensive coordinator Steve Belichick, got a lot of criticism amongst Patriots fans. And they were when the Patriots played the Buffalo Bills. Remember, they played the Bills 3 times. They took the first matchup, and then the Bills dominated the other 2 matchups. And in those games, you could see some obvious weaknesses with the Patriots defense. And many Patriots fans were saying that Bill Belichick should fire his son. Bill Belichick has lost touch with the current state of the league. I don't think none of those statements are really true. I think the key cause for why the Patriots defense was ineffective against the Bills offense was simply for the fact that they just didn't have the horses. You see, for years on top of years, we've been so accustomed to seeing Bill Belichick and his staff out-scheme and out-coach their opposition. But you see, when you have a coaching staff that not only is as good as being a coach as you are, and is also really good at making adjustments, you're kind of evenly matched there. So in a sense, Sean McDermott has kind of caught up to Bill Belichick and the staff that the Patriots have assembled. Because remember that for a while, the Patriots were always the top dog in this division. And even though they may not have always been one of the most talented teams in the league, they didn't need to because they could always outcoach you and out-scheme you. But once you have a head coach that's as good as making adjustments and has a very good coaching staff, along with a better talented roster than you, then being able to scheme and outcoach the opposing coach kind of goes out the window there, because Sean McDermott, in my opinion, is a top 5 coach in this league. So when you look at how good of a coach he is and how good of a staff he has assembled, plus the fact that the Bills have had a more talented roster than New England, it was only a matter of time before we just saw New England's defense be unable to slow down Buffalo's offense. And I don't really think it was the play calling. It was simply the fact that New England simply didn't have the players to slow down the Bills' offense. They were slow. You had Dante Hightower still at linebacker. I mean, I love Dante Hightower. I'm pretty sure a lot of you Patriots fans loved him as well. But it was time for him to go. And the Patriots defense was just old in a sense, and it was really slow. So this year for New England, if they're going to have a shot at winning the AFC East and recapturing the title, they're going to have to be able to make sure that they are better equipped to handle the Buffalo Bills offense. Because Josh Allen isn't going anywhere no time soon. And not just Josh Allen, but just being able to handle a dual threat quarterback such as a Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray. You have to be able to have speed on the field. So I think that one addition that the Patriots made over their offseason that definitely should help their defense be better suited against some of the better, faster dual threat quarterbacks in the league. You acquired Mack Wilson in a trade with the Cleveland Browns when you traded away Chase Winovich. Mack Wilson is a really good player. He had a really solid rookie season with the Cleveland Browns. And then after that, his snaps started to decrease over the years. Injuries played a factor. But despite the fact that his snaps went down, he still made the most out of his opportunities when he was on the field. He still was a really productive player. It's just that the Browns just didn't have any use for him. So he gets traded to the Patriots. And I think that this is a perfect fit for New England and Mack Wilson, Mack Wilson, I think, could end up being one of the more underrated acquisitions from this offseason. He's really good in coverage. He also is pretty fast, so you bring some speed that is needed to that linebacker room. You also have linebacker Raekwon McMillan returning. He tore his ACL last year, I believe, back in training camp. You also have Jahlani Tavai. But then when you look at the safeties, okay, you have Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar, Devin McCourty, Jabril Peppers. I think that you're going to see Jabril Peppers on the field a lot this year as a hybrid linebacker, because remember, when Jabril Peppers was coming out of Michigan a couple of years ago, he was a former first-round pick by the Browns before he got traded in that OBJ trade, and he got sent off to the New York Giants. You see, the thing with Jabril Peppers is that he's super versatile. At Michigan, he was playing all over the field, linebacker, edge, safety, wherever they needed him to play, he played. For New England, they're going to find a way to get him on the field, and he's going to be really effective when it comes to slowing down Josh Allen, because now you're going to have that speed, and not only are you going to have that speed, but you're going to have versatility. Jabril Peppers, if you put him inside the box, the dude could be an absolute monster. He's very good in coverage against tight ends, slot receivers if you need him to be. You can also line him up on the edge and use him as another blitzer. So he definitely, I think, is going to be really important when it comes to neutralizing the Bills' offense. And I know there are other teams in the league that the Patriots are going to be playing this year other than the Buffalo Bills. But the reason why I keep using the Buffalo Bills as an example is because right now the Bills are currently the best team in the AFC East. So I have to compare the Patriots to the standard right now, which are the Buffalo Bills. And for New England, speed definitely is something that has been added to this defense in a sense. Even though there hasn't been a lot of overwhelming acquisitions to add tons of speed, you still did add Mack Wilson and Jabril Peppers. And these aren't flashy acquisitions. They aren't going to be any acquisitions that many people are going to be talking about during the preseason and before the regular season. But the Patriots and Bill Belichick are always good at finding players that fit their system and fit what they need them to do. As Bill Belichick has notoriously said over the last couple of decades, do your job. Everybody has a role. And for Jabril Peppers, Mack Wilson, I think they're going to be really big when it comes to being able to slow down opposing teams who have really high-powered offenses that start with having a very good dual-threat quarterback. The defensive line is really good. You have Wise, Henry Anderson, Christian Barmore, Lawrence Guy. Really phenomenal defensive line. One of the best in the league. At edge rusher, you have Matthew Judon, 12.5 sacks last year. He's coming off his third straight Pro Bowl appearance. You also have Josh Uche, who had 3 sacks last year, so he should also be a little bit of a factor when it comes to the Patriots pass rush this year. Middle linebacker Juwan Bentley is probably coming off the best year of his career. He recently got re-signed by the Patriots to a 2-year deal worth $6 million. Last season in 2021, he had 109 tackles, 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 pass deflections. He's really good against the run. However, he's not all that great in pass coverage. With Dante Hightower now gone, the Patriots kind of gotten a little bit younger at linebacker. So the run defense should improve this year. And with Christian Barmore taking that next step in his development, this run defense definitely should improve. And overall, the speed of the defense, although it's not going to be super overwhelming, it is going to be noticeable. And I don't think we're going to see teams like Buffalo have the kind of games that they had against New England last year in their last 2 matchups. I definitely think that Bill Belichick and his coaching staff are going to be better suited to match up against some of the better high-power offenses versus what they went into last year. Because last year, they just went into a game where they had no answers. And rarely do you see Bill Belichick get out-coached, but that's kind of what happened with the Buffalo Bills. And not only did they out-coach Bill Belichick and out-scheme him, but they just were outright better. So for New England, how are you going to counteract that? We also got to talk about how are they going to deal with the loss of J.C. Jackson, who opted to leave in free agency and sign with the LA Chargers. I don't know if the Patriots really tried to re-sign them. Maybe they attempted, but he was just asking for too much. You guys already know what the Patriots mentality is when it comes to players. They don't overpay. And not only do they not really overpay, but they don't really pay anybody. So they're always about trying to get the big bargain. So you got Malcolm Butler, who's 32 years old. He got signed to a 2-year deal worth $5 million. He didn't play last year. He's somewhat retired, but then he came out of retirement and then signs back with New England. And you may be saying, JT, he's 32 years old. Don't let the age fool you. Malcolm Butler was really good during his time with the Tennessee Titans, and we already know what he did during his fourth stint with the Patriots. He was a Super Bowl legend. He was one of the key reasons why they were able to beat the Seattle Seahawks in that Super Bowl a couple of years back. So the Patriots are always a team that's good at getting the most out of aging players who may look like they're past their prime, but the Patriots somehow have the recipe for being able to squeeze out what's left of their careers. And just look at Devin McCourty. The dude is 34 years old and still playing at a really high level. Last season, 60 tackles, 10 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions. I don't know how the Patriots do it. I don't know if Bill Belichick just has this cryo chamber that he throws aging veterans in, and then after a couple of minutes, they come back out better, rejuvenated. I don't know what it is, but he's just really good when it comes to getting the most out of older players. And I don't know if it's just because he loves having players that have experience, high football IQ. I don't know what it is, but he just gets the most out of players who seem as if they're past their prime. You have Jalen Mills returning. I don't know what role he's going to have in this Patriots defense. He had an up and down season last year. He could potentially move back to safety, but I doubt it because the Patriots are already pretty crowded at the safety position at the moment. You did draft rookie corner Marcus Jones in the 3rd round out of Houston. He's 5'8". He's going to be competing for the starting slot cornerback job. He's also going to return kicks, punt returns for New England as well. He was one of the best, if not the best returner in college football. He also can play a little bit of receiver as well. So the Patriots want to get a little bit innovative, want to use him as a gadget player on offense. They can. He reminds me a little bit of a Dory Jackson, but a smaller version. You can just put him up anywhere on the field. Offense, defense, he can do it all. Special teams. But somebody who I really love is rookie cornerback out of Arizona State, Jack Jones. He was drafted in the 4th round by New England right after they took Marcus Jones. Very, very good man-to-man press corner. This dude is really aggressive, bump and run. It's simple. If you're New England and he starts, you're going to line him up on the outside and you're just going to allow him to play pure man-to-man coverage on the opposing team's best wide receiver and let him work. He's also a very good athlete and has a pretty high football IQ, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting the starting nod this year as a rookie over Malcolm Butler. That's how high I am on Jack Jones. I think the reason why he fell to the 4th round is because maybe there were some character concerns about him or whatnot, but I think that he's a perfect log in this Patriots defense. You also have Jonathan Jones, Shaun Wade, who they acquired in the trade with the Baltimore Ravens. I really would love to see Shaun Wade start at slot for the Patriots this year, because if you guys remember Shaun Wade when he was playing for the Ohio State, the year before his final season with the Buckeyes, he was one of the best cornerbacks in all of college football from the slot because he was a hybrid safety end source. He could play safety, he could play in the slot. He's a really good athlete, especially when you want to use him off the edge as a blitzer. I just love Shaun Wade in the slot. I think he was just born to be a very good slot corner. He also can play outside corner, but he isn't really as good outside compared to how good he is in the slot, then we can't forget about Adrian Phillips, who had one of the best seasons of his career, 92 tackles, 4 interceptions, 9 pass deflections. Kyle Duggar as well, 92 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 5 PDs. You could have made the argument and say that both of those safeties deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. And this was a really good secondary that was also really good at forcing takeaways. So for the Patriots defense this year, I think that this is still going to be a defense that is going to rank amongst the top 10 in the league this year. However, I think the run defense definitely should improve with Christian Barmore taking that next step in his development. Christian Barmore has potential to become one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game. When I watch Christian Barmore play, he reminds me a lot of Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. I think he has that kind of potential, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Barmore put up a Pro Bowl caliber season in this Patriots defense. I think he's going to be a really big piece in determining how good this defense will be this year. Then you're going to have Mack Wilson. I think he's going to have a pretty big impact. And Jabril Peppers, I'm really intrigued in seeing how they're going to move him around on this defense. But you guys let me know how you guys are feeling about the New England Patriots defense going into the 2022 NFL season.